Hi, my name's Joseph Lesser, and I'll be bringing you this free mini lesson. So the lesson that I'm going to be showing you works on any of the recent versions of Excel starting with 2007 and up, even earlier if you have a very old version. So whatever of these versions you're working with, this lesson will work perfectly for you. In the lesson that I'm about to show you, I'm going to be demonstrating with Excel 2016, mostly because it's the latest version. And if you're working with an earlier version, this might give you some comfort. You'll see an extremely familiar version, and maybe someday you will be working with 2016. Printing basics. I want to show you what Excel 2016's print panel looks like compared to Excel 2010's. If you let your eye wander from side to side, you'll see they are very similar. They've each got print buttons, printers, the settings are identical. They've just changed a little bit of the cosmetics. Now I'll be working with Excel 2016 through this demonstration, but if you're on an earlier version, 2013, 2010, 2007, I think you'll find a very direct correlation to everything you learn here about these printing basics. So in this lesson, we're going to learn about print preview and putting the print preview button to good use, how to select a printer, set the number of copies, setting your report to landscape or portrait, setting the margins for your report, and a little bit of work with scaling. So let's meet in Excel 2016 and get going. Let's start by talking about print preview. I've got a graphic of the print preview button over here, and I want to add it to my quick access toolbar. So I'm going to go up to the quick access toolbar, click on the drop down arrow, lets me customize, find my way to print preview and print, and select it to place that button up here. So now I can click that button and go into the print and print preview. Now this panel over here to the left, I'll call it the printing panel, and over here to the right is the print preview. So let's talk about print preview for just a moment. What do we see here? We see a little representation of what will print on the first page. And I can look down here and I can see this would become a 4-page printout. And I can see what page 2 would look like, what page 3 would look like, and what page 4 would look like. And this might or might not be what I want. I'm going to go back to page 1. But let's just take a note that print preview lets us scan through these pages and see what's about to go to the printer. Now, if you find this acceptable, you can press the print button and send it off to the printer. Number of copies is set here. You can easily click the up or down triangle to increase the number of copies for each click or decrease the number of copies. Here's where you set the printer, and it's possible you might have one or more printers hooked up to your computer. I will stick with this particular printer. So whatever you see over here, if you press print, will go, and those 4 pages will print. Now, the next tool I want to talk about is found down here. It's called the orientation button. And I'm going to click on it to show you the choices. It's either going to say portrait orientation or landscape orientation. So I'm going to leave it as portrait. And that means that the paper prints vertically with the long side up, as you can see here. Now, if I change this to landscape, notice this is a 4-page report right now. If I change it to landscape, the paper will print horizontally, and it's going to be a 2-page report. So that's an interesting change. Let me set this back to portrait for the time being. The next button I want to talk about is the margins button. Now, the choices when you click on this button are between normal, wide, narrow, and custom. And you can see my choice was set to normal. So when I click on that, I can pick one of these other presets, or I can go into custom margins. Let's see what that brings us. A dialog box shows up, and it's called the Page Setup dialog box, and it's got 4 tabs, but we're on the Margins tab. And this is where you can set the left, top, right, and bottom margins independently from the presets. So this gives you a lot of fine-tuning control. I'll cancel out of there. So you can set the margins from this button. And then one more tool I want to talk about is the scaling button. So the scaling button has a couple choices. No scaling, which is what our starting point is. You can fit all the sheets that are about to print on one page. It'll shrink the font size down. Or you can print all the columns from left to right on one page or all the rows on one page. Let's see what this does if I try to fit everything on one page. Actually, it's not so bad. Instead of a 4-page printout, it made the font a little smaller and I can see the whole thing all in one page. Okay, that's not so bad. Or I could go to something like custom scaling options and I can say, oh, it brings up another dialog box, page setup under page, but it's this region here, scaling. And I might like to make it an even smaller size. Maybe I want to write some notes. So I'm setting this down to 60%. I press OK. Makes it even smaller. Maybe I can write some notes in the margin and do some work. As long as I can read what I want to read, I can scale it to any size that I want. So scaling is another nice feature, a little more advanced. I'm going to set this back to no scaling. It's worth playing around with and practicing with. So that rounds out this printing basics. Just want to cover it once again. I'm going to return to the workbook, add a print and print preview button to your quick access toolbar, click on it to go to the print preview. And from here, you get to see what's about to print. You can set the number of copies, set the printer, set the orientation, margins, and scaling. There's one more little final note I want to mention. That if you want to go into the print and print preview, you can also do it through the File tab under the Print option. And any recent version of Excel will allow you to do this. You get to the exact same place as the Print Preview button. Most people, once they start using the Print Preview button, use that permanently. It's quick, it's easy, it's very visual, very handy. Well, that completes our lesson. We covered print previewing, selecting printer, number of copies, orientation, margins, and a little bit of scaling. How'd you do with that? So the lesson's completed. Thanks for doing this. I want these lessons to work for you, and I look forward to hearing from you. You can visit me at my website, josephlesser.com, and if I can be of any assistance, please let me know. So, this is Joseph Lesser, signing off.